Dwayne, how you doing?
No, no, no.
Hey, Gerald. I'm going to say everybody, say hello to Mike Green's here.
Just an update on Eric. Where is he at status-wise?
He's out tonight.
Was that something that accumulated over time, or was it from the not the last game, obviously, but the game before?
Yeah, just got symptomatic after I think the Golden State game. Woke up with some discomfort, that they want to get on top of, and we don't think it's going to be something long term, but he'll be out again tonight.
I'm curious, just when you went back and looked at the film, with not only the main three guys, but how the team played in total. Was it what you thought it was during the game, or was it better than what you thought, or not as good as what you thought?
Well, we had the big three back, but we were depleted with our depth. Right. So it was a little bit misleading to think that we were at full strength. We had a few of our role players had bad nights at the same time. You know what I mean? And that hurt us during some stretches. They were double teaming the entire game and trying to junk the game up, and we shot the ball poorly. Missed 13 wide open threes, and we shoot 40% on those. We shot under 25% on those for that night, and weren't able to get the W. But plenty of positives. We won the minutes when those three were out there. They looked really good in stretches, and a lot to be encouraged about.
Grayson we asked him about having that opportunity now to play with the big three. He was almost getting ready for it. How much are you looking forward to seeing him out there with them, knowing that he can space it and create his own shot as well?
Yeah, he's just someone you have to guard on the other end of the floor, and he's a scrappy guy on defense. So helps us on both sides of the ball. Again, to have somebody with his shot making and playmaking on the backside to when we get double teamed or to discourage double teams, something that should just help us.
With Josh, is that more of a short-term thing, or is it a little more serious than that?
Josh Okogie? We'll see. I don't think it's a long-term thing. It's a muscle, or it's a hip thing. So we don't think it's serious.
And then as far as Shawn Marion being inducted into the honor tonight, what are your memories of him and his time with the Saints?
Yeah, I think he was maybe an underrated part of that 7 seconds or less team. Everybody remembers Nash and Stoudemire and D'Antoni, but for the way he played and filled up the stat sheet, in every way, guarded every position on the floor, really accelerated their pace. With his ability to get out and fly and catch lob dunks on the boards, really did it all. It's good to see that tonight he's not an underrated part. He's going into the Ring of Honor, and it's well deserved.
When you were an assistant in Philly and Indiana, what was it like game playing against those teams when they first took the league by storm a bit?
Yeah, I actually remember when they went 6-0 in the preseason. It was Nash's first year, right? And everyone says, well, don't pay attention to the preseason, but we're watching them on film like, no, this isn't preseason. This team is scary. And they went out and won 60 games that year. That was my recollection in Philly. You never know when you put a roster together how it's going to take shape, how fast, how the pieces are actually going to fit on the floor as opposed to what you envision them fitting. And that everything clicked for those guys that year.
It worked out for Shawn with the system here, but is he one of those guys you look at where you're like, he's like a modern player, like he'd be perfect for the way today's game is?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he does it all. He can hit the corner threes. The athleticism and speed. With today's space, I think he'd be even better.
Frank, what have you learned about Brad that, because you are now coaching, that perhaps you didn't know before?
Yeah, I just think I always viewed him as a big time shooter and a scorer, but the diversity offensively with which he can attack is really really impressive. He can hurt you in all ways, including being a screener. Which is a great fit when you're playing with two other stars. Screening and rolling to the basket and playing a 4-on-3 game. But he can penetrate off the bounce. He can post. You put him in pick and rolls. You bring him off pin downs. There's really no way out there that he can't score, including being a backside catch and shoot guy. So you got all those things, and he's a high IQ and really competes on the defensive end with an athletic live body as well. So someone that's really going to help both sides of the ball.
I know I'm asking about months in the future, but when the playoffs arrive and the game slows down and the defensive intensity for opponents ramps up, how much of a weapon is that offensive versatility especially when you compound it with.
Yeah, there's not many better weapons than Bradley Beal. You know, from a standpoint of, you know, just playoff intensity. Because in the playoffs, they're going to take away. They can find a way to take away Kevin Durant. They're going to try to take away Devin Booker, and quite frankly, they're going to try to take away Bradley Beal. You know, so if you're bringing double teams, those guys, and you know, the backside should be open. You know, or what we saw in the first game a lot. It's not so much the double teams, but the space and gravity that those guys bring. I mean, they're guarding Kevin Durant 40 feet from the basket, you know, with no help and a lot of room for Brad and Book to operate. You know, and I think all three are going to benefit from that kind of space.
Back to Grayson on Wednesday, a lot of the guys were looking forward to him coming back to help play faster. What does he do that kind of gets the offense moving in a way that, you know, other guys might not?
Yeah, well, he's a high IQ mover, and you know, when we talk about playing it faster, it's not just, you know, fast break basketball, open court, but it's your half court pace as well. You know, and you know, things stall out less when you have great space, when you have a guy that defense has to run at or stay close to, and other guys have room to operate. You know, so I think Grayson helps with all that stuff.
Coach, for Drew, he's had some fantastic nights for you guys, other nights where he struggled. What do you want to see him focus on to find that level of consistency in the middle?
Yeah, just keeping the mistakes low. You know, he's had a tough stretch of games here where he hasn't played his best. He played some really, really brilliant basketball for us earlier in the season, and you know, energy guys go through slumps too, right? It's not so much about shooting slumps, but you know, he can put together you know, every bit the stretch he had early in the season, any game now. You know, and we expect that with him. We believe in him, but he's just got to keep the mistakes down, and you know, it's just you know, bring the defensive coverages, defensive disposition that he was bringing earlier in the season.
Coach, Brad played 34 minutes. Is he still on the minute restriction?
Not tonight, other than to be prudent and intelligent, but no restriction tonight.
Who are you starting?
I'm going to hold that.
Frank, when you look at the fourth quarter and availabilities, I know been a contributing factor, but when you look at some of the fourth quarter struggles, is there any other identifiable areas that you guys have tried to focus on to try to clean up?
Yeah, well, I mean, the numbers can be misleading because some of them are close games, some of them we're playing from behind trying to catch up, and some of them we're up big, and we've lost a few big leads in the fourth quarter. You know, so they slant the numbers as well. So, you know, I would urge everyone to not pay too much attention to those. I think a lot of it has to do with not being whole and being in experimental phase of your roster, with a lot of new pieces and a lot of new players out there, and you know, figuring out ways for them to succeed. So, you know, I think it's just a matter of time to see what they will be fine in the fourth.
Has it been frustrating to you not to have any continuity?
Not really. You know, I mean, it's something I look forward to having our full group, but you know, I don't really put a lot. Honestly, don't put a lot of you know, frustration or a thought into stuff I can't control. You know, I mean, they're going to give me a list of active players that night, and my job is to go win a game with that group. So I really don't get frustrated with guys being out.
Frank, what are your expectations for Josh's role now that the three are here, and what that's going to look like when he's back?
Yeah, he's a valuable piece of what we're trying to accomplish. You know, he's really an elite point of attack defender, and you know, I expect him, you know, contributing similar to the way he does, you know, up until this point.
Coach, last game you slid Mezzi to the 5 in the second half. Is that something you're going to continue with, or is it really just a matchup-based thing?
Yeah, it's more of a matchup-based thing, but it's something that we can go to. You know, we always have you know, just a plan B if a certain player is struggling, and we can go to a different guy or a different look. You know, that was they were playing against 1 through 5 switching. You know, which Drew wasn't really being effective in. They were taking his pick and roll game out just by switching. So, you know, Mezzi was someone that we wanted to put in there and give us just a different look. So I would say it's more about matchups.